Hey everyone, Warwick's here. So we're back with Home Free Month, continuing it along. I've been getting a lot of interesting comments from the Home Free fans in the comments of my last two videos. Nevertheless, I still appreciate that you guys are still taking the time out of your day to comment in those videos. But we're going to continue on with Home Free. This will be the third of, let's see, am I doing 4 or 5 on them this month? 4. So we'll do this one, and I think I'm going to do Ring of Fire because I've had a lot of people recommend that. I know that Home Free's catalog goes even deeper, but I'm definitely looking to explore more of their stuff through these videos, probably after the first of the year, given the themes that are coming up. But today we're going to be looking at The Gambler. This was released by Home Free not long after Kenny Rogers passed away. So this is their tribute to The Gambler. I know the original song, of course. I have listened to this before, but I am going to go ahead and just watch through again because it's been a long time since I've seen this one. Uh, and then we'll talk about afterwards, like the breakdown and do all the stuff that we normally do. So without any further ado, let's do Home Free's The Gambler.
On a warm summer's eve, on a train bound for nowhere, I met up with the gambler. We were both too tired to sleep, so we took turns of staring out the window at the darkness till boredom overtook us, and he began to speak. He said, "Son, I've made a life out of reading people's faces, knowing what the cards were by the way they held their eyes. So if you don't mind me saying, I can see you're out of aces. For a taste of your whiskey, I'll give you some advice." So I handed him my bottle, and he drank down my last swallow. Then he bummed a cigarette and asked me for a light. And the night got deathly quiet, and his face lost all expression. Said, "If you're gonna play the game, boy, you gotta learn to play it right. You got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done." Every gambler knows that the secret to surviving is knowing what to throw away and knowing what to keep. 'Cause every hand's a winner and every hand's a loser, and the best that you can hope for is to die in your sleep. And when he finished speaking, he turned back toward the window, crushed out his cigarette, and faded off to sleep. And somewhere in the darkness, the gambler, he broke even. And in his final words, I found an ace that I could keep. You got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting. But when the dealing's done, you got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting. When the dealing's done, you got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting. When the dealing's done.
All right. Yeah, I'm glad I went back and listened to it in full again because I really enjoyed that. So you can probably tell I'm focusing more on a specific style of acapella that they're doing for Home Free this month, which is more like the the leaning towards the country music side, because that's kind of where they got their start, and then they've diversified into a bunch of other music ever since then, which again was pointed out to me in the Sea Shanty medley or Man of Constant Sorrow comments. It's not that I didn't recognize that, it's just that this is kind of what I recognize them for based on the limited amount of their catalog that I had gone through at the time. I've seen other videos that they've done that do like the Butts medley. I know is not that style. They've done a few other things as well, but for a long time, this was kind of the thing that they were quote unquote known for, at least early on by like the most generic of fans, or people that like the things that they probably heard were things like Man of Constant Sorrow or The Gambler. So I'm going to focus on more of those this time around, but Home Free is going to get revisited after the first of the year, and we'll be doing much more of their different style of music. Now, that said, there were a lot of things that I really enjoyed in this song, kind of listening to it again. So in the last video with Man of Constant Sorrow, it was, a lot of Austin, Rob, Tim with, and I pointed a lot about what Adam was doing with the vocal percussion, and I kind of mentioned that Chase was kind of a background player in this, an important player, of course, because, all 5 of those guys are important in every song, but he didn't really get his like singular moment to shine. He was doing a lot of harmony work. He was doing a lot of background work. Here, actually the opposite. Austin doesn't get a ton of moments to shine here. Still get some really cool moments, but not like, he doesn't get like an extended period of time like he did in Man of Constant Sorrow, and here Chase actually gets a lot more time to shine. So I think this is really, really cool. I'm a big fan of Chase and his voice, and the baritone came out quite a bit in this video, in this song, which I am super happy for. I tend to fall more into the baritone, like a baritone bass voice range. So for me, like mimicking and singing after his voice and matching his like tones and stuff is a lot easier for me to do than it say is for like Austin, who I would strain to do that, and even in some case Tim, like I can't get that deep. So I love a good baritone. I'm glad that I did this video because of that. But that's the reaction portion of this video, so congratulations on under 10 minutes again for that. If you're here for the breakdown, let's go back and listen to it. Now, the one thing I'm going to assume, I don't know when this was released. This was released August 14, 2020. So basically, as the pandemic is raging on, which I assumed based on the fact that they weren't all in one single shot without like different little camera frames in. Completely understandable, staying safe, that sort of thing. But unless you're very aware of like world events, or like you really paid attention to the one shot where all 5 of them were on the screen, like you could easily assume that they were all in the same place doing this video, and there was just like a rotating camera in the middle of the table. Like that's the level of detail that they took to try and make this appear as much as them being in one room as possible. Well, world events would clearly tell you that they're being safe. There's some other things that kind of give it away a little bit, but that's neither here nor there. Given the fact that they shot this probably while still in quarantine, and made it look as good as they did, like to the fact that like the first time I watched this, I thought that they were all in the same room until I really paid attention to the release date. Like that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. So I appreciate that about that. And let's get into Chase's first little opening here.
On a warm summer's eve, on a train bound for nowhere, I met up with the gambler. We were both too tired to sleep.
What I really enjoy about his opening line is that like the first like 3 or 4 words had like a breathy quality to them, and then as you get into the second line of the verse, he gets into that much more clear tone that cuts very well. I really appreciate that about what he did there. It's a nice little choice to add just enough variety, and of course there's a lot of like crescendos, decrescendos in just the vocal line, adding that volume to like apexing it almost like a hill, which I really like too.
So we took turns of staring out the window at the
Ooh, I like those background harmonies. The oohs. Let's listen to that again. They all start in like the same note, and then a couple of them drop down into different notes that add that little bit of contrast here at the very beginning, while Chance is still doing the lead line.
So we took turns of staring out the window at the darkness till boredom overtook us, and he began to speak. He said, son, I've made a life out of reading people's faces, knowing what the cards were by the way they held their eyes. So if you don't mind me saying, I can see you're out of aces. For a taste of your whiskey, I'll give you some advice.
All right, so Tim's line there, very good. Probably in his upper chest range, as I'm guessing, still like very comfortable in his upper chest range. Like he could probably sing for a couple of hours at that level. Again, some slides going up and down, kind of like in Man of Constant Sorrow, where I said he's kind of remaining on one plane and kind of deviating just a little bit. He kind of does the same here. And I said in Man of Constant Sorrow that I thought it was a good thing. And the reason that is because Tim has such a cutting voice and cutting in a good way, and that it doesn't matter if he's in the middle of a room on no microphone or in his recording studio on no microphone. I mean, even probably sitting at that table when he was, even if he was singing his parts there and they just, used the video and cut out all the audio, he probably sounded the same in all three. He's like that type of consistent. If he was in like a chamber choir or something like that, he would be able to stand out because he just has this a way to project his voice that just cuts very well. He did it in Man of Constant Sorrow. He's doing it here where he's really letting the power of his voice show, along with that sort of lyric, that text clarity that he always has. So like he kind of does this with a little bit of up and down, but like if you were doing this on if you were looking at it on like an audiograph, it wouldn't be just like the one line. It would be like a big like audio sound because he just pumps the power out of his voice, and just really good. The bass chords, I believe that's probably Chance doing that, since I know he can drop down into bass. I was told he's got a 5-octave range. I don't know if that's true. I'm going to take it at the word of the commentators because they know better than I do. I'm not the biggest Home Free fan. Like I said, I've only really gotten into them outside of the Sea Shanty medley. I've only really started dipping into their catalog a little bit, so I'm still like learning their music, learning their styles, and learning who can do what. But I really like the background harmonies here too. Still on those oohs, but adding a lot more depth here.
So I handed him.
Let's go back and just listen to a little bit of it. Let's go right here.
Taste of your whiskey, I'll give you some advice. So I handed him my bottle, and he drank down my last swallow. Then he bummed a cigarette and asked me for a light. And the night got deathly quiet, and his face lost all expression. Said, if you're gonna play the game, boy, you gotta learn to play it right. You got to.
So Rob is really interesting to listen to because his voice, like when you compare him to like Austin, it's like the closest comparison you can do since they both tend to run the tenor range. Austin's voice sounds like he did a lot of training into it, whereas Rob, I'm sure he does a lot of training too, but like the natural quality of Rob's voice sounds like it's just raw, like potential, raw talent. Whereas Austin's voice is extremely good, but you can tell like that, again, I was told background in musical theater kind of shows. Like he is a lot more showy and like he knows where to add dramatic effect in the right places, whereas Rob just does things because it feels right, and it just sounds like there's this really like almost like a little bit of chaos in a way where it's like there's this simmering pot of potential beneath Rob's voice that just sits there untapped, not because he can't tap into it, but just because he doesn't need to all the time. And it adds like this really fun quality to Rob's voice that I just really appreciate. It's hard to put my finger on it, but it doesn't sound like classically trained or even like theaterly trained. It just sounds like this is a dude that started singing one day. No one taught him how to do anything, and this is just the sound that came out of his voice, and he's just been rolling with it ever since. Like he just runs with it because he can. He's just got this like raw talent, whereas like Austin and even like the tenors of like voice play with, you know, Ellie and Caesar and, you know, before them Scott Porter and a few others, like they have like this, like you can tell there's like training done behind your voice. Whereas Rob, it sounds like he just sings on a whim and sounds this good.
Know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your.
The other thing too is kind of going back a little bit here with his little whoa riff that he did. Rob is singing at a level that also I think is like super comfortable for him, and that if he had to sing for like 8 hours to save his own life, he could do it at that tone and it would sound good the entire time. Just like very, very comfortable. He's not straining himself at all. Just leisurely, almost like he's not even trying. Again, it's like he's just talking and this is the sound coming out. Like listen to the little whoa that he does here.
Gonna play the game, boy. You gotta learn to play it right. You got to know when to hold 'em. Know.
Whoa. Just again, I mean, he does it in a thing where he's just casually playing cards. I know he's not necessarily singing his part here. It's not the studio recording part of it, but like it still is a it's just really cool that like visually he's just like casually picking up his chips and, you know, making his bet, and I could see him sitting at a table just casually humming along and sounding just like that while just grabbing chips, playing like a home poker game. Like it's just like the visuals on that make it look really good, and his singing is enough to convince me that he could legitimately be doing that, and I wouldn't be none the wiser if I didn't know like kind of the sauce of how a video like this is made.
When to fold 'em, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done.
So I'm not quite sure what note Tim gets down to there. It's probably very comfortable for him to do. I'm guessing the bass C2, just based on the limited amount that I've been learning. If I'm wrong, please tell me in the comments in a way that helps me, patronizing me. Thank you. But what I love about the chorus is that Rob and Austin just have these really nice harmony going on with Chance, who's in that, again, comfortable baritone place. And the background lines, they don't stand out as much. Like they're not meant to kind of be like a forward harmony. They're meant to be a background harmony. And it just sounds really nice and rich, which is something that Home Free, like I said, in Sea Shanty Medley, I think they excel at just making harmonies that sound really rich, especially when they're taking advantage of all the sort of natural voice ranges of their members. And they just have a way to make it sound perfect, I think, every time, which is very cool.
Every gambler knows that the secret.
Austin, or not Austin, Adam, give me that riff again.
Every gambler knows that.
It's like the sound that I make when I'm trying to when you're trying to tickle a baby. Except he made it sound very musical, whereas I made it sound like I was trying to tickle a baby. Well done. I like it. Nothing that Adam is doing that's super standoutish. Like I talked a lot about what he was doing in Man of Constant Sorrow, because I thought he was doing some really cool things. Here, much more sort of basic, straightforward stuff, but some fills in there that are really good. Like the one thing that Adam does extremely well is he's very, very, very consistent. Not to say that other vocal percussionists aren't, but like to me, his standout quality is doing a really good job of keeping everyone, like when they're together, he's very good at keeping everyone in the same place, and then he fills in with cool stuff as he needs to. There's still some creative technique that he's using inside a lot of this stuff. But in this song, he knows what his duty is. His duty is basically to keep things moving forward because, keep things stable, so to speak, from a beat component, which is what drums do most of the time anyways. They keep things stable. They're a heartbeat. And then everything else around it is like all the fun stuff. That's just the life of being a drummer sometimes. Not that you can't be creative. There's millions of examples of that, including Austin with his drum solo that he's done at concerts and stuff before, which I have watched that video and it is very cool. But like, his role is very defined here and he's doing a great job of it, and he's being super consistent about it, which can be tougher than it looks like sometimes.
The secret to surviving is knowing what to throw away and knowing what to keep, cause every hand's a winner.
Tim getting down really low again there. Dude. The little bit of a walk down as he did that I appreciate a lot. I love like basses that kind of do like the walking bass type thing. For some reason, it just really gets me every time. I love it. I smile every time I hear it. So I appreciate that he threw a little bit of that in here. I don't know if it's part of the original song. It's been a long time since I've heard the Kenny Rogers version, but I love the walking bass momentum that basses do, and he did it right there very well.
And every hand's a loser, and the best that you can hope for is to die in your sleep. And when he finished speaking, he turned back toward the window, crushed out his cigarette, and faded off to sleep. And somewhere in the darkness,
I'm assuming Chance was like, Tim probably did the bass and then is also singing. They probably just mix and mastered that. But from the standpoint of the video, like, I want to know, like, it doesn't look like anyone's doing it unless I missed it. I'm going to watch it again just to make sure I didn't miss, like, maybe Chance doing it. But I'm almost wondering if Tim recorded 2 clips for that, one of him doing the bass and then another one of him singing the line.
And when he finished speaking, he turned.
I appreciate that he caught the bug flying up out of the light in his clip here.
Back toward the window, crushed out his cigarette, and faded off to sleep. And somewhere in the dark.
Yeah, it didn't look like anyone was specifically singing bass there, so I imagine that Tim did the bass line and then did a second clip where he's singing the main line, and they just edited that, which, not a problem with that. I love Tim's bass, and he's obviously the most skilled at it, because that's where he falls naturally. If you've ever listened to him talk, like, his voice is ridiculously low. Yeah, it didn't look like anyone else, like, facially was doing the thing. I could be wrong. I don't have the music in front of me, but that's my guess.
The gambler, he broke even, and in his final words, I found an ace that I could keep.
I love that little walk down again that Chance did at the end, taking advantage of the baritone voice there. Again, walking lines, they're like call and answer for me. Or question and answer, you might hear it is. They're just like, that's a vocal technique that I love, and then a musical technique is the call and response.
Got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting. But when the dealing's done,
Rob's face there cracks me up. Again, they kind of did the same thing that they did earlier in the song, where Chance's voice kind of very forward in the chorus, with Rob and Austin kind of being background harmonies. Still love that a lot. But you can tell that, like, obviously Rob has gotten a little chance to shine and did well, and kind of like on the lower end of his range, I imagine. I mean, I'm sure he could go really low, but like what you would naturally think of a tenor when you think of a tenor singer, he was on the lower end of that with his solo line earlier, which sounded tremendous, of course, because Rob just sounds tremendous all the time. I've never heard him sing poorly in the few videos that I've seen of them. But like at this point, I was like, I wonder if Austin's going to get anything. And then didn't disappoint.
You got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know.
Did he record himself twice and or did they duplicate his voice like Jeff Castellucci did in Reigns of Castamere with these? Because it sounds a little bit like that. But again, he gets, probably among the highest notes that I've been able to pick out in the song. And that musical theater adds that little bit of drama to it, a little bit of riffing almost to it. It's really cool. Let me listen to it again, see if I can catch if they duplicated his voice there or if that is like a mixing thing. Hang on.
When the dealing's done, you got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when.
Yeah, I think they just duplicated his voice because you're hearing distinct Austins in each ear. At least I am. I like it. I think that's really cool editing. I think that's really cool mixing and mastering too. Just makes those two little lines that he does that is like his little moment to shine really stand out. I really dug that.
And to walk away and know when to run.
Tim, sir, more of that, please. I love it.
Never count your money when you're sitting.
I love that he started this little when you're, and then they come in with like when you, yeah. So they do it almost like a 30-second note, or maybe a 16th note, and he just going in on like quarter notes. When you sit at the table, that sort of thing.
At the table, there'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done.
Pseudo call and response there, so appreciate it, Home Free.
You got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money when you're sitting at the table. There'll be
that right there, just a little bit of contrast to what you've been hearing the rest of the song in terms of the chorus lines. Really, really smart, I think, to just add that little bit of variety at the end of the song to keep it interesting when you're just hearing the chorus a couple times here at the end.
time enough for counting when the dealing's done.
The long ums at the end, really appreciate that as well. Really nice harmony, as you would expect from Home Free. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. I think I like this one the most out of all the songs actually right now so far. It's a great song from Kenny Rogers. Rest in peace, good sir. But yeah, guys, that's Home Free's version of The Gambler, a tribute to Kenny Rogers after he passed away in 2020. I really, really enjoyed this video. I hope you did too. Hope you enjoyed my analysis of it. Definitely like, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff below. I've been getting a lot of growth out of this channel, and I think it comes a lot from these videos. So I just want to say, all of you guys that are here for the reaction stuff, you guys have been a growing part of my community, and I appreciate you greatly. And thank you very much for a lot of you guys are regular commentators on my videos, and I really love that. I love seeing your names every single week when these videos go out. I feel like I'm getting to know some of you a little bit week by week because of that. So I just want to let you guys know I really appreciate you. This is actually going to go out on Sunday this time. I'm recording this on a Thursday. I intend to upload it tonight for scheduled Sunday release, so I will not be late this week. And then by the time this comes out, you should already see VoicePlay's most recent song out on the mix there. So until the next video, I hope you're all staying safe. I hope you're all enjoying some good music and you're having fun. And I will see you all in the next video.